How cool is that? A water-cooled micro with a prop blast pickup. And it all fit just barely. I don't think there's enough room for one more coolant line in there. I had to ponder this one a while as far as how to make it happen. The first challenge was mounting the prop blast pickup. So modeled and 3D printed that bracket, through bolted it on the strutter, then coming in through the transom with the water line straight to the motor, water jacket being the wrapped aluminum tubing, nice and lightweight and fit under the motor between the motor mount and the OD of the motor, and then minimal amount of lines coming back through the ESC and exiting on this side here. So kept everything lightweight, nice and neat, and should work pretty well as far as cooling the motor first and then ESC and exiting the hull. Dr. Jet mentioned that these little 20-40 millimeter in runners can't take the higher volts. You can't push them. And I don't disagree with that, but my feeling as far as my initial setups and my maiden run and how I progressed with this boat was it's a slow buildup of heat over time. I wasn't 100% sure that I knew what I was doing as far as setting up a micro, but I started out on 2S with a 4480 kV motor, which admittedly is a little bit on the high side, but I'm only running an Octora 2714 prop. So this is not detongued or altered, just sharpened, balanced, and polished. And I ran that setup on my maiden run and a couple runs after that, and it would do okay on one lipo, 3-minute run. And then the second lipo, it was getting fairly hot. And on a couple of those videos I made, I ran 2 lipos back to back. Second battery, when I brought it in, I'd melded some wires together. And that motor was hurt. It wouldn't run the same after that. So then I put a 3900 kV 2040 in runner in here, still on 2S, same prop. And kind of the same thing with that. It would make it through 2 runs, 2 lipos, 2 3-minute runs, and I eventually melted the wires on that one. Just felt to me like I'm not getting heat out. Then I wanted to go to 3S, and in here right now that I had on my last video at White River Reservoir, 3S with a 2280 kV 2040 in runner, same prop, 2714 Octora prop. And you saw me bring it in at the 2-minute mark. I was getting a bad reading from my infrared temperature gun, but I felt like at 2 minutes, feeling the motor, it was over 100 degrees. Ran it with a short break, brought it back in, so had 3 minutes on that, and it was, the motor's at 129 degrees initially when I checked it. And it's just on its way to getting hot. So that's kind of my feeling, where not getting heat out. So therefore, water cooled. And wasn't sure if it would work out on a boat this size, but I got the water coming in, first shot to the motor. Really was never an issue with the ESC, but kept the weight down as far as minimal coolant lines after it goes to the motor, coming out, exiting here. So I want to run it on 3S with the 2280 kV motor, And if that holds up, I can run 2 lipos, 3-minute runs. I have a 3200 kV motor I'm going to try next on 3S. So we'll see how this goes. I'll wrap this video up with a close-up look at my cooling system. Starting with the 3D printed bracket that clamps the prop blast pickup onto the strutter. Through bolted on stainless steel hardware. So from there runs up to a short piece of aluminum tubing for the through haul. So just a nipple on both ends, and that is super glued into the transom. Straight shot from there up to the water jacket, which consists of as many wraps as I could get around the in-runner motor, and then straight shot back to the ESC, another short length of silicone tubing to the telltale exit coming out the back of the transom on the left side. This silicone tubing is from the RC helicopter side of the hobby, and what this is a large ID thin wall silicone tubing that is used inside the fuel tanks for the nitro helis. You put your clunk on it and it's got a high flow rate but very soft and flexible. You go invert it on a heli, it always drops to the low side of the tank. So this is an 1/8 inch diameter aluminum tubing. This silicone tubing is as big as the OD, so there's actually more flow through the tubing all the way through the cooling system. It's not smaller than the ID of the aluminum tubing. So thin wall, lightweight, flexible, should get some good flow through this cooling system with the setup that I have. I had also changed my setup in an effort to take a load off the motor. And what I did was I had lowered the center line of the prop shaft all the way down until it was, the center line of the prop shaft was even with the bottom of the sponsons. So I had it running a lot looser, and I think that had a lot to do with the porpoising I was getting again on the turns. So I've since, using my gauge, not guessing here, I've raised the center line of the prop shaft to an 1/8 inch above the bottom of the sponsons. So if I keep the electronics cool, I'm pretty sure that's going to get the handling back where I had it earlier without the porpoising in the corner. I don't like the direction I went with that, but just trying to do that to help with the keep the electronics cool. So we'll get this out, test it with the new water cooling system, and should get a better handling TunnelJet at the same time.